RV owners, today we are looking at kind of a unique issue here. Kind of set to one manufacturer, which would be Grand Design. I have seen these in some other units, but these low point drains right here, I've replaced a bunch of these. They've been pretty problematic. They like to let water flow through them even when they're closed, and it's really because on the inner workings of these, the O-rings fail. As you can see, this one's all folded up, not looking very good. One, these valves are kind of hard to source, and two, they're just not good. Why would you replace them with the one that already prematurely failed? So I'm going to show you the solution, which is going to be these washer dryer hookups, because that's exactly what that is a washer dryer hookup. Now on Grand Design and pretty much every other RV, what you're going to need is a quarter turn washing machine valve with that 90 on it. As you can see, it has that 90 so that it can drain water down below. But you want to make sure that it has a 1/2 inch PEX on the other side of it, because that's what is going to connect to the other side. And unfortunately, at least for this model, that means that I have to take apart pretty much half the basement here, get this wall off, which was a nightmare because the compartment was full of stuff. But we're going to be replacing both of these. Now the reason I have to get behind here is because of this lock ring right here. So that's what's screwed on the back, and I'll also have to make that crimp with the PEX. So I don't know how well my head camera is going to get back here and actually see what's going on. We'll get some light back here, and if you've never seen the inside of your RV basement in a fifth wheel, this is typically what it looks like. Not very good, but we're gonna have to get to the other side of this box here, the wet bay, where we were just looking at outside. Right down here is the back side of those, so that I can get some wires on it. Hopefully getting my arm around all of these cables and wires. You guys are probably getting the absolute worst view right now.
This clip was definitely supposed to be edited out of the video, but in the process of editing, I wanted to leave it so you guys can see me struggling too. Hands were freezing, pliers were not cooperating, and I about lost it all.
With the GoPro on my head, I'm sure that you guys are just staring at a pile of wire right now. I highly doubt you can see me trying to struggle and get these pliers back here and get those rings off, but I promise you, outside of this part, it's a pretty straightforward process. It's pretty easy. So now I can take some cutters, and I'm going to cut as close to the end of that pipe as possible so that I can try and reuse that stub, but I don't know if I'm going to have enough. I may have to add a little piece of PEX to that and use more clamps than I wanted to, but it is what it is. Now, because it's a Grand Design and they use this garbage flexible tubing, which very rarely comes in handy, because now I can just swing these over here and do any of my plumbing work, like getting my new crimps on here. These pieces are definitely too short, so I am going to add some little stubs to those. And since this space sucks to work in, I could at least swing them up and bring them to me. Now we can walk to the back of the old Suburban. I always cut my PEX a little long. Be surprised at what I can fit in this little Suburban. I guess I shouldn't call Suburban little, but compared to a work truck, limited space, but I've always got exactly what I need. Except when I have to turn around and go back because I forget it 5 or 10 times. Need some PEX clamps, 1/2 inch variety. I have seen some talks recently about some little like plastic ones that you can crimp on with just pliers. I can't say that I would trust them as much as I would trust these, and I don't even really like these, to be all that honest. So until those have a little more research, I don't know. So with everything inside disconnected now, I can pull these through and disconnect them from these drop lines, which those are going to be 3/4. That's where it might mess you up when you're trying to buy the valve thinking this side's going to be 3/4 as well, and it's not. So pull these through, if they'll let me. a little bit of a pain. The blue one, the cold side, I actually had to take my wheel and cut that one off because that limited space that I have back there, there's no chance I was getting my PEX cutter back there to cut the PEX crimp off. So we had to improvise with some violence. Speaking of breaking things or destroying things, I'm going to give you a tip on this particular situation. It's been like this at a lot of solitudes. That limited space back there, it wasn't limited space when they were building it. So trying to get a pair of PEX crimpers on this thing back there, not going to happen. I'd rather pop my pipes through here, crimp it, pull it back through and put it on, which I also just realized isn't going to work because I have to get this ring on here. The last couple of these I had a little bit more space. Those two propane lines right there are going to make it a real doozy to try and get that fitting on there and make that happen. So now back inside, got those valves pushed through, get our little lock rings put on there. What a nightmare trying to figure out which arm is going to reach. And I still have to figure out how the hell I'm going to get a PEX crimp back here and make that work, but that's a story for 5 minutes from now. All right, with a little bit of anger and using some words that I try not to use on my YouTube channel, I got that thing secured. So now just got to get those little stubs on the lines that are going over there, get those crimped on. There's one. And this is going to be number 2. For those of you who have never done PEX, just seeing how I have to get this tool on here in the right spot and with the amount of space that I need to make that full action, you can see why getting back there is really going to suck. I am going to trim these down a bit, similar to how they were. I always like to cut them long when I grab them from the truck. You never know what you're going to need. But as long as I have enough for my other fitting to get in there and get a clamp on here first before I even try and wiggle it back there, and maybe it won't be that bad. Who knows? You have to try and be optimistic sometimes. Maybe this will go smooth. Maybe I won't have to invent new cuss words on this particular job. Now, as you can see in my particular situation, not only am I in a tight space back there, I've also just got all these hoses that are very conveniently in my way, so I have to try and figure out how to fish my arms back there and get the tool open big enough. Did I get it? The nice thing about these PEX tools is if you don't make a complete crimp, they won't open back up on you. They have a ratchet to where you have to completely close it before it opens. And look at all that complaining I was doing. Happened quick. Whew. See, sometimes you have to be optimistic, guys. It's not always all that bad, you know? Oh, except when your clamp falls off in the worst place. Honestly, when it comes to RV plumbing, if you wanted to know one of my biggest peeves, it is really just the fact that they don't give us enough space to do anything at all, really. That's where half of the frustration with the job even comes from. It's just, as soon as you look at it and you know you're going to be in a compartment or you're going to be in a really awful space. And for those of you following along that have realized maybe this is not the job for me, maybe at least it'll give you some insight as to why some RV repairs take as long as they do. Replacing a couple valves, in my opinion, shouldn't take as long as I've been on this particular job. But hopefully it helps you guys see a little bit of that too. I know on my channel I do a lot of cuts, you know, and I cut some of that stuff out, and I've been thinking about leaving some of it because I know I have a lot of DIYers that follow me and see this stuff, and you know, I'm doing them a disservice by not showing them some of the headaches and things like that that come along with right now. Not gonna say any bad words. Alright, oh, you're gonna fall again? What the fuck? I lied, I said a bad word. Sue me. Alright, if you looky here, yeah, both of those crimped and secured. That red one, the hotline, the one that's closer to me, ironically gave me more shit than the cold one, which I had the propane lines on the way of. This one just gave me a bunch of nonsense because of the heat duct, and because they, you know, did a beautiful job taping it up. I mean, look at that. Can we praise that work? I didn't want to get rid of all that to get it on there, but after just, you know, a few cuss words and a little finagling, got it on. So thankfully, my work in there is done. We got 2 new valves installed, nice quarter turn valves, you know, no messing around, and they both work flawlessly, especially compared to, you know, that nonsense. Again, I know this is kind of a specific video because this is a Solitude, but those valves are in other places. And even if you don't have a Solitude or you don't have those valves, maybe you took something out of this about the plumbing in RVs. It's not always fun. It's not always as easy as it would be in a house. It's definitely something that makes you want to invent new cuss words sometimes, but it can all be done very DIY with really simple tools. Again, half the battle is really just getting to the stuff. And hey, if you guys want to see some more RV tips or how-tos like this one, or even just follow me along on my route as a mobile RV service technician, make sure you guys are pressing that subscribe button. In the meantime, I'm going to clean all this up, get this guy's stuff all put away, and get out of here and on to the next one.